Hello, everyone. We are just letting everybody get admitted.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Give everybody a chance to get connected.
We are super excited to have such a large crowd joining us today.
We are. This is more than we expected, if Ashley and I are just being honest.
Maybe the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, but we are definitely excited on the interest and hope you find the content useful.
Yes, we do. Well, it looks like we've got several in right now, and so I'm just going to go ahead and get started with some of our housekeeping. So just moving forward, if you can make sure that you are on mute, we would appreciate it. That just keeps some of the background noise to a minimum. And then if you do have a question, please utilize the chat function. Ashley and I will try to keep an eye on it. She's pointing to me. We will try to keep an eye on it so we can make sure that we will answer any questions. So just getting started, I'm Katie Frazier. I'm a recruiter for ACDS, and with me is Ashley French. She's the Director of Talent Acquisition, and we work for a nonprofit called Arkansas Center for Data Sciences. So we are Arkansas. What we do is we help to build and retain the top data science and IT talent for the state of Arkansas. So we partner with our company partners to really help place candidates into some IT roles, specifically IT apprenticeships. So currently we've been placing candidates into cybersecurity apprenticeships, data analyst apprenticeships, quite a few developer roles, QA developer roles, CAD technicians, other IT related roles. So it's our charge and our mission to help grow the IT talent in the state of Arkansas. So with that being said, Ashley, do you want to kick us off and tell us a little bit more about what we're going to talk about today?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I do want to again thank everyone for attending. What Katie and I do is something I'm really passionate about. From my time in corporate IT recruiting, there are so many barriers that an individual's resume has to overcome to get that first interview. So we're going to first kind of kick off the call and talk about the different types of kind of entry-level positions to get your foot in the door into an IT career path. One more kind of housekeeping item, we do plan to record this for training purposes. We also will send out today's slide deck at some point this afternoon. And please, again, ask any questions in the chat. We'll answer those either as we go or towards the end of our call.
And just to address the audience, we know that a majority of today's attendees do not have IT work experience or maybe a traditional background of a 4-year degree in computer sciences, and that is okay. And we are wanting to speak to all sorts of individuals today that have a variety of paths. And we're going to talk about different IT positions. It's great to have an interest in IT, but we're going to narrow down that focus a little bit and talk about several different roles. We're actually going to hear from an apprentice himself, and he's going to tell us about what has been such a great experience for him. We're going to talk about a survey we sent out to our hiring managers of what they really enjoy looking at in a resume. And then we're also going to give some resume tips and some interview tips, because that is one of Ashley and I's favorite things to do.
Hopefully, pending we don't run out of time, but that is
Yes.
our goal to hit it all.
Great. So getting started, Ashley, if you want to start and dive into some of those roles.
Yeah, so first off, I do want to share kind of a key point that a job title is really going to vary from company to company. Even within larger organizations, it could be the same job title, but completely different day-to-day duties depending on what department you're based in or what type of business unit you support. So we're going to be speaking in kind of very general terms. We'll also try to note, if a job title could be called other titles and kind of mean the same type of role. So an IT generalist, you could also see that posted out on Indeed or a career site as maybe an IT assistant or IT support. The IT generalist is typically a role that's going to include a wide array of job duties with a lot of focus on maintaining computer systems, hardware upkeep, software installs or upgrades. This person could be physically the individual that sets up a new computer and phone system when a new employee joins a company. So it could definitely be very hands-on. In addition to this position has a lot of light exposure to other IT career paths, such as security protocols. I think it's a great kind of first position because of that diverse exposure to see, what type of career path you want to go under for your focus, such as a developer. So a developer position is probably the one that doesn't vary as much in regards to what different companies call it. A developer or a software engineer. In short, developers are going to write code. They are utilizing various programming languages to create game software, robotic software, custom applications. Developers typically work with some type of project management team to receive the initial kind of instructions or business requirements on what they need to create or what problems needs to be solved. I will say from the companies we speak to, from a demand standpoint, I think the number one type of position or resumes they're asking for is within the developer space. So a great, if you've never had any exposure to programming languages, a very kind of beginner app would be the app Grasshopper. I'd encourage you to download that app and kind of go through some very basic syntax of programming languages to see maybe if that's a career path to transition to. You'll see different specifications out there, front end, web developers. That could be a great kind of transition for someone with a graphics design or just kind of a design mentality. So there's definitely all sorts of different types of front end, back end, full stack developer opportunities out there. And now Katie is going to share with us a little bit about kind of the help desk technician IT support roles.
So help desk technician, you may have also heard it as help desk support. So these are individuals that will help in a variety of manner when it comes to daily duties. So you can think external and internal. So external, when you call AT&T or Apple and you have an issue, that's sort of an external help desk role, and it's typically defined in tiers. So help desk 1, 2, 3, as it gets more advanced into different areas. So a lot of this is providing the technical assistance needed to solve problems and troubleshooting those issues. So they might walk through on the phone and tell you, hey, is XYZ working for you? Or they might actually get your phone or your computer and work through the issue themselves. So they also record the communication. So as you've heard Ashley say, we're going to record this for quality assurance. So they will go back and record and make sure that everything is meeting where it needs to be. So they will also install the computer programs themselves. Say you're upgrading from, I think it was Windows 10, everybody had to upgrade to the next thing. So they will make sure that everybody is in line and doing that. They also perform those account maintenance. So specifically if you're working on a secured network, there's things you can't do yourselves. You have to have the help desk technicians come in and upgrade manually. So kind of similar to that, but I like to think of more of an engineering brain. Network analysts, they create the hardware and software configurations in order to improve those functions. And so by that, I mean that they are identifying those problems specifically when there is a bug within that network. Networks, they have to make sure that all the computers talk to themselves, as I like to think of it. So when they see that there's an issue within the network, they will go in and solve that problem. They will recommend the changes. They also maintain the standards. So when I think network analysts, I think a lot of telecom and internet positions, providers, where these roles really thrive. They also have to implement new technologies. So making sure that the new upgrades are where they need to be. And they must consider the benefits of upgrading those new technologies versus keeping with the same programs. So Ashley, do you want to go into our last two positions?
Yeah, so really excited to talk about cybersecurity analysts. Some companies could also call this kind of job title wise, maybe a SOC analyst or IT security, or even it kind of transitions into maybe an IT auditor type of job title. But these types of positions are going to monitor computer systems and protect it from a security breach, such as a hacker. I think we've probably all unfortunately received some type of email notification from Target or, some other type of vendor where we've done some shopping that their system has been breached and potentially our, credit card information could have been, stolen. This growing field is not just for companies in banking and finance. Again, think of all the places that were making purchases online, especially during these COVID homebound times. But there's got to be a team that is protecting and defending the network. So these individuals are going to set up firewalls, data encryption programs to help protect the company. They're going to work on incident response protocols because it's not if you're going to get hacked, it's going to be when. And you've got to have a plan in place on what to do and how to prevent it. Individuals with a high curiosity, almost that detective mindset, enjoy, problem solving or investigating, typically do very well in this type of career path. Also, individuals with the mentality to defend, so our former veterans, military service individuals also kind of have a great transition into a career such as this. And to kind of transition into another very, very hot growing field in big data. I'm sure we've all seen all the new tools that are out there and the need for big data. So a great entry level point into the data analytics space would be a data analyst position. Companies also could title this as a product analyst or even just a kind of generic IT analyst. But kind of the common theme is this position is going to help the company make business decisions based on actual data. So we no longer, make decisions off, off the gut or kind of off the fly. You want to make educated decisions based off of past data. So depending on the company and again, even the department, a data analyst could be dealing with completely different types of data or databases. A data analyst in a marketing department may have 1,000 of rows on Facebook or Instagram ad data in regards to how many clicks or impressions. And, you know, by analyzing the timestamps, doing a few sorting features, they may see that, you know, they get the best results if they post an ad at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. So that, based off of analyzing that data set, they could make a business decision to kind of change their marketing plan and only pay to have their ad sponsors during that time, because it's more bang for their buck and more efficient. You know, in addition to kind of trend analysis, a data analyst is also going to work on, you know, gathering and organizing the data from multiple sources. So typically a data analyst is going to be someone, you know, very detail oriented. So if you enjoy spreadsheets, mathematics, statistics, all the things that as a recruiter and a talker that scare me, you know, this could be a great entry level kind of position to get your foot in the door and explore. You know, to really give you a better overview from someone who is in the seat today in a data analyst / product analyst role, I'd like to introduce Josh Whitehurst, who works with one of our company partners, First Orion. He actually started in an apprenticeship position, and kind of a quick overview on that. An apprenticeship position often gets confused with an internship. An apprenticeship is not a short-term internship. Apprenticeships are full-time positions that the company is willing to train and mentor you while you're on the job. We'll be happy to go over any apprenticeship questions at the end of our call, but I'd like to pass the floor or the mic to Josh to tell us a little more about your background and who you work for.
Yeah, for sure. Can you guys hear me?
Great.
Yeah, sweet. Okay. So again, I'm Josh Whitehurst. I work with First Orion. I'll kind of dive into that a little bit, but I think I'm going to explore a little bit of background and what led to this first. So to add a little bit of validity to what Katie and Ashley were just talking through, you don't have to have an education or experience in technology to go and work for a tech company. I'm living proof of that. So I got my degree in psychology and communication, and then jumped into a consulting internship right out of college. So again, no technology basis whatsoever. That kind of led into an advertising technology role with a company down here called Anuvo. Some people may be familiar with Anuvo. They're in downtown Little Rock. And then I just completely jumped ship and went and worked in the startup field for, I mean, my God, like 3 years. So just, I think some of the folks on this phone call I interacted with through that startup work. So through that startup experience, I heard about these apprenticeship programs, and it was a novel concept, especially in Arkansas. I mean, this is new. A lot of folks aren't doing this. A lot of people don't know that these apprenticeships are even available. So kudos to everybody for even knowing about this and being on. So First Orion, in a nutshell, I'm sure everybody on this phone call or this webinar has gotten telemarketing calls or scam calls. You know, those really pesky, constant 10, 11 digit numbers you don't recognize that just spam your phone on a daily basis. Our company solves that problem. So there's a lot behind that, but what we do is we provide transparency in the mobile network. So we work with really tier 1 carriers like T-Mobile, Sprint, so on and so forth. And we implement protection services inside their mobile networks to prevent scam calls. So if anybody has a T-Mobile device that's on this webinar, you've likely seen the header scam likely whenever somebody's called. That scam likely tag is from First Orion, which is an Arkansas-based company. So it's pretty cool. We're out there kind of the back end vigilantes protecting it. It's all this crazy scam work. So from the First Orion intro, Katie, Ashley, do you want me to go ahead and dive into a little bit of job responsibility?
Yeah, maybe just kind of give an overview of, you know, in your, because we kind of talked about how the position is going to vary on what type of department, what company. So give them kind of your example of what your day-to-day duties are, and maybe even what technologies you're utilizing.
Yeah, for sure. Let me pull something up real quick. So again, I am, as it shows, I'm a product analyst. There's not one of the big caveats with these analyst roles is some of them are so new that each company is going to define what they mean by product analyst, data analyst, so on and so forth in a different way. So at First Orion, a product analyst is kind of a combination of data analytics, business analytics, and product management. So again, the product being at the beginning of that title, we're heavily product focused. And so when I'm talking about protecting against scam, what that means is I work on technological based products that get implemented in the T-Mobile and other Tier 1 carrier networks. So the product, in effect, is a piece of technology that the end user is never going to know about. So what does that look like on a day-to-day workflow? The easy way to put that is there are processes that we're taught during those apprenticeship programs that are implemented on a daily basis, but the day-to-day is so unique, which is what's so cool about getting into a technology role like this is, yeah, you're going to do some things that are standardized, right? I mean, you can't operate a production environment without some standardization behind it, but what form that takes on a daily basis is going to be unique. So highly engaging work, really exciting to go to the office every day. So what that looks like, I mentioned some standard processes that are put into place. And these types of things, if you go and you apply for an apprenticeship program in any technology company, if you say you are well-versed in Agile and Scrum methodology, light bulbs are going to go off. People are going to ask you questions about that. That's what's hot right now. So Agile and Scrum methodologies are a standard process that we use on a daily basis. And what that means is, let me kind of give some history to what that is. So the old school way of doing development is called waterfall. And a waterfall methodology means that you would plan out like 12 to 16 months worth of development. You would not waver from that plan. Well, in the world of technology, things change so rapidly, hence my comment on you come to work every day and it's a different problem to solve. But with Agile, the methodology is 2-week sprint cycles that can vary from 1 to 4 weeks. And what I mean by a sprint cycle is that's whenever we're in active development, writing the code with a full team of folks. And at the end of that cycle, we release that code to production. So that standardized process it looks something like this. You come into work, you get your day in order, whatever tasks have come in from that week or the prior week, whatever new technology is being developed, understand that, get yourself ready for the day. The next step is you have a daily stand-up. This is part of an Agile process, a 15-minute conversation with your entire team. Everybody goes through what you work on yesterday, what are you working on today, and do you have any impediments or roadblocks? From that point forward, everybody goes back out into their breakout teams and cranks away on whatever work they're assigned for the day. When it comes to standardization past that Agile methodology, there's a lot of other ceremonies and rituals that are involved in that. I don't think I want to spend too much time on that. If you go and look up Agile or Scrum methodology, which I highly encourage if you're not familiar with it, you'll see what those ceremonies are. And it's kind of those things repeat on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, depending on the length of the sprint cycle. But when we're talking about tools and software that are essential, and these types of tools that I'm about to get into are not specific to product analytics by any means, which is the role I'm in. I mean, a data analyst is going to use some of these, a business analyst is going to use most of these. So if you're an analyst at all in an apprenticeship role, you're going to use this stuff. So Atlassian software is a kind of a must-have in terms of a skill set, especially going into technology companies. There are competitors out there that compete against Atlassian, but they're kind of the cream of the crop, so to speak. So Atlassian software is a tool like Jira. Jira is used for product management and development management. So whenever you go into a development cycle, as a product analyst, it's one of my responsibilities to elicit requirements from the business. So what does the business need for this new addition to the product to be successful? That's a big repeatable process that happens on a monthly basis for me. Once we elicit those requirements from the business stakeholders, and by the way, a stakeholder is anybody that has an interest in the product that's going forward. So that could be a senior vice president, that could be your team lead, that could be the person that sits next to you. So anybody that addition to the product is going to impact. Once those are elicited, we put those into tools like Jira, an Atlassian product, and it's a ticketing system that manages that workload. So you're able to see, has this item been started on? Where is it at in the development cycle? When it's code complete and ready for production. It's just an easy way to manage stuff. Confluence, it's a document repository that's also an Atlassian product that's tied in with Jira. Really well integrated between the two systems. So whenever we write requirements and you write documentation to support a new product addition or an existing product, generally speaking, all of that lives on something like Confluence or SharePoint, Microsoft product or repository. Whenever we're going through this process too, one of the Agile and Scrum rituals, ceremonies, so to speak, is to develop a user flow or process flow. And what that means, I think the simplest way to explain that would be when you go to a website and you want to buy something, generally you'll see a product catalog of some sort. You'll click on it, you'll filter through, you'll find the product that you want. You may search for it. It may present top of screen because they've tracked you and they know what you want. Well, that funnel process, before it's ever implemented on a website, is drafted up in a tool like a Lucidchart. And Lucidchart enables somebody like me, a product analyst, to walk through an entire user journey on a front-facing product and anticipate all the decisions that are going to be made, anticipate every possible path that could be taken within that product or piece of technology. And this holds true too for like system engineers. They need process flows, not a user flow, because it's not a user, but it is a piece of technology that's going through those steps too. So these flows, to summarize that concept, are wildly important in technology roles. So being able to understand, at least conceptually, and have that conversation of, I know what a process flow is, I know what a user flow is wildly beneficial in these types of conversations. And then, of course, the Microsoft suite. I mean, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, those are must-haves. I mean, I use every single one of those three on a daily basis in some capacity. What capacity, I can't tell you because it changes so rapidly, but having those skill sets makes your job in life so much easier, and the ramp up time for you to learn what the company does and integrate into a job flow is drastically reduced if you already have some base working knowledge on something like Excel, PowerPoint, Word. Ashley, Katie, any of those you want me to dive into deeper? You want me to keep going?
No, I mean, Josh, you shared even, and we've spoke before, and you've given me even more things that I need to Google and research. So appreciate the thoughtful overview. Any, closing remarks on, anything you wished you would have known before starting a career in IT that you know now?
Will you say that one more time? I was reading that question about the pivot tables. I'm sorry.
Any closing remarks on what do you wish you would have known, before or when you started your career in IT that you know now?
I wish, so one of the first things I mentioned were, and I mentioned it first for a reason, just for that, is agile methodology. I had heard of it before, but there are so many intricacies to that methodology and approach to business that had I come into this with an existing knowledge base on agile methodologies, it would have made my life tremendously easier. I spent a lot of time outside of working hours making sure I researched that appropriately, because that's the way the business operates. It's an agile business. In the technology world, I almost guarantee it, any newer company like First Orion, like within the past decade to 15 years, almost every single one of them are using this Agile and Scrum methodology process to implement new
wow.
code, product. It's a really effective way to develop in technology.
So I do, let's try to hit Alicia's question on pivot tables and formulas before we pass it to Katie.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a good question. I highly recommend being familiar with both of those. So if I was a data analyst, I would use pivot tables on a regular basis. Since I'm not a data analyst, I use the formulas and functions inside of Excel almost every day, especially whenever we're developing a new plan for a product. So to that question, pivot tables, I know that. I think it's important to know how to run a pivot table inside of a spreadsheet or a worksheet and across multiple tabs too. So those pivot tables are pretty powerful. But for my day-to-day responsibilities, it's not a necessity. We have some internal reporting tools that handle that. But as far as formulas and functions, yes, I think that's going to be a standard regardless of the analyst type role you go into.
All right. Good to know.
So we created a survey, and I think this is really interesting stuff. So if I get a little too excited about it, let me know, Ashley. But we created a survey that we sent out to hiring managers, so anybody that deals directly in the hiring practice. And we just wanted to know, what really stands out on a resume? When you have somebody that maybe doesn't have a computer science degree, what stands out to you? And this is some of the data that we have found. So when we asked what impresses you the most outside of a degree, the number one answer across the board was the resume has to be tailored to the position. So it's not enough to just say that this is an IT resume. This is a resume that I would send out to 10 different companies. It has to be specifically tailored to that job in particular. So in the objective, it says, I'm applying for a data analyst position at Arkansas Center for Data Sciences. It says exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. So number one tip, if you want to take away something, please tailor your resume to the position. Other things that impressed them was longevity at a company. So I really love Nukes. If anybody's been to Nukes, the sandwich shop. So if you have been working at Nukes for 7 years, 8 years, maybe you've been working while trying to go to school, working and just trying to get by. If you have been working there for a lengthy amount of time, I love that when I see that on a resume. And it's particularly because it shows that you are dedicated to something. You've probably picked up some leadership experience, some managerial experience in that role. So please put that on your resume. Don't think just because it's not a relevant position to IT, because we do get that a lot. We said, oh, I had a part-time job all through school, but it wasn't relevant to IT, so I didn't want to put it on there. No, please do. Project examples is something else that sticks out on a resume. So we're going to show you some resume examples in a bit. And there's a certain section, the way you create it, it tells me, this is the project, these are the methodologies I used, and here's a link to the GitHub repository on there. So please include that on there. And also leadership and passion for technology. If you were involved in a meetup group, so I know there's one up in Northwest Arkansas that's really popular called Our Ladies, and it is a group of people that get together and they talk about the programming language R and different projects they do. It's not a school group, it's just a group of people that get together, and so that really shows interest into IT, so it goes into these networking opportunities. Next question we asked was, when reviewing a resume without IT experience at all or a computer science degree, what certifications or entry-level points do you look for in a candidate? And many of our employers, our hiring managers said, not relevant unless to a specific position, but we did have a handful say, if they're applying for this certain position, I want to see CCNA, I want to see the CompTIA Security Plus, the MCSA. A handful of our employer partners said that anything cloud-based, so Amazon Web Services, that's a new up-and-coming point. If they are trained in that, please, we love it. So deal breakers on a resume. This is something you want to make sure that you write down, typos and misspellings. So these hiring managers, they let us know that if there's typos and misspellings, they will throw that resume out because they want somebody that's going to pay attention to detail and really be thoughtful when they submit that resume. They also said when a resume isn't tailored to a position, it's not going to make them stand out when they're looking at 20 to 30 resumes in front of them. Job hopping and long gaps between jobs, that happens sometimes, but if it's a contract role, make sure that you are specifying that it is a contracted position, because that shows them that, yes, that you were there for a short amount of time, but that time had a specific end date. Another thing that employers don't like to see on resumes is pictures and hobbies. It's not relevant to have hobbies on there. It is great that you have hobbies, but you don't necessarily need to let employers know that. And pictures just take up too much space. They're not relevant necessarily. Just don't include them. So Ashley, do you want to go into what else our hiring managers had to say?
Yeah, and one thing, guys, I want to point out is the survey results that we compiled. These were directly from IT hiring managers and IT recruiters in Arkansas. So this isn't a mass survey, that someone in New York or California put together. So we got this direct information from the employers that you're interviewing with. So did want to kind of note that. So we included in this survey an open text field for any general advice for job seekers looking to start a career in the IT space. And there were really three kind of common themes or trends that we ran across. And number one was self-learn online. There are a lot of resources available online. And actually on the next slide, we're going to give you specific sites to target to look at, and even a unique training opportunity through the Arkansas Workforce Center. But a good employee is going to always want to learn more, especially in IT. IT has constant evolution and change in regards to newer, better, more slick features of technologies. Number two was having detailed projects completed recently, and really be able to explain those details in an interview. Again, the majority of listeners on our call don't have IT work experience. So how is someone going to, in the interview process, get an understanding of your technical skills and abilities, and even your technical interests? Would you really hire a developer if they've never done any type of programming or coding? Or would you rather hire someone that really comes across as passionate and interested in programming languages that, created an app just for fun? I'd probably hire the person that actually, thinks that coding and programming is fun, and put together a project just for their own personal knowledge purposes. Number three, network with others in the technology industry and volunteer for tech-related jobs. A great website Katie just mentioned, meetup.com. You can actually sort for specific meetups for technology focus groups. I know there's a cyber group in Central Arkansas. I think there's even a Java and maybe even an R group. So check out meetup.com. Also sign up for newsletters from organizations such as ACDS, sorry for the plug, in addition to even the Venture Center, to really get yourself exposed on what type of current events are going on in the tech space in Arkansas. Volunteer or participate for the Jolt Hackathon in Little Rock. We also host a virtual happy hour called Tech After 5 every second Thursday of the month. feel free to sign up on our calendar at acds.co. But basically, that's a informal, no agenda or script on just meeting and networking people, within the tech space in Arkansas. Something that you could almost do to accomplish all three of those tasks would be volunteer your time to either a nonprofit or maybe even a new startup to put together some type of IT project. No one is going to turn down free labor, and this will give you a great project to be able to showcase your technical skills and abilities in an interview and or add to your resume. In addition, your networking, they may have people in their personal network to introduce you to. You could offer to create a website for an upcoming fundraiser they're doing, maybe help them with their social media analytics, upgrade their computer software, basically anything that you can, discover that the organization needs that is somehow tech related to the type of position you're targeting. We've also included a few direct quotes from the survey that I really liked, but feel free to read those when we send out the deck. For time purposes, I'll just kind of go ahead and kick it to Katie to talk about some of the websites we encourage self-learning on.
So some of these websites, get ready to screenshot so you can go back and look at them. But some of these websites are available at no cost to you. And some of them are just really great resources that some of our hiring managers specifically mentioned in that survey. So lynda.com is a great one. I believe it's sponsored by LinkedIn. And it has a variety of different topics where you can really get to know more. If you're really interested in data analytics, the Microsoft BI tool blog is a great resource for you. Udemy is one of, I think, the more popular ones that I've seen candidates mention, but this, again, we will send out this to you so that you can go back and look over all this. So Ashley is going to talk to you about probably one of the most exciting things on this presentation.
Yes, so it was so exciting we even put it in your the link in your email reminder today. So you already have the link that is shown below. But the Northwest Arkansas Workforce Center currently has some grant funding available to eligible participants that apply for free, if you're qualified, technical training through the University of Arkansas Professional and Workforce Development. They have 20 classes that are entirely online, shown on your screen. They begin each month, last about 6 to 18 weeks. So I would encourage everyone on this call to go to the link to see if you're eligible and apply. So who qualifies? So you are required to be in the state of Arkansas, 18 years or older, a completed GED or high school diploma, and eligible to work in the United States. So again, please follow the instructions on how to officially apply, and they'll go through the process. We love our partners at the Northwest Arkansas Economic Development District, and look forward to hopefully getting people enrolled.
So we talked a little bit about certifications in that survey, and certifications are a great way for entry-level candidates to set themselves apart. Our survey did show mixed data about whether it's a requirement, must-have, or something that's just nice to have, but some like to see them. The biggest downfall to certifications is that they are a little bit costly, but there are companies that offer tuition reimbursement. I know McDonald's, Lowe's, I think Uber might have a program where you can get reimbursement. So do your research to see if your company will cover this, and talk to your local workforce board to see if that you could maybe get this covered for you. So when interviewing or a candidate with a resume that doesn't have any IT experience, if they have certifications listed on that resume, that is a bright red, yes, please talk to them and get to know more about how they're studying and learning on their own. So just a note here that CCNA was the most mentioned certification, so I definitely wanted to point that one out.
But, you know, to me as a recruiter, I personally see certifications and completed boot camps or even just online trainings on Udemy kind of at the same level. So, you know, kind of the downfall, certifications are costly. If you can get it paid for, great. But at the end of the day, you know, as long as you're, you know, look, you could be eligible for a free training program from the University of Arkansas. I see that just as enticing or interesting to prompt me to interview the individual. And, you know, for time purposes, I'm going to go through the next 3 slides pretty quick. They're pretty user-friendly in regards to resume tips and interview tips. We're also going to be hosting a call soon specifically focused on resume and interview tips, so be on the lookout for that. But again, kind of a main takeaways on resume best practices. Tailor your resume to the job posting. I honestly didn't know it was that important until getting these survey results. So individuals really want a specific resume tailored to their job description and their company. You know, a simple black and white, you know, font and color is classic. No graphics, no pictures, just very distracting. I also love a skill summary that has kind of a bulleted overview of a mix of your technical software skills and abilities, in addition to maybe your areas of focus. So it could be trend analysis, web development, but in general, a recruiter is going to look at your resume and spend 10 seconds doing a quick scan to see do they have the keywords and the kind of qualifications that align with my job description, to decide whether or not you're going to move forward to the phone interview. The next slide gives kind of just some screenshots of kind of my personal favorite types of resumes. You know, they're very simple, clean. They give an overview of kind of their technical skills and abilities. And then kind of closing us up to open up for questions, kind of interview tips. Again, do your research. You know, especially a lot of interviews are going to be virtual. So you could have the job description and an overview on the company kind of printed out to reference before you get on the interview. And also be mindful of any type of distracting backgrounds because you want the interviewer focused on you and not you know, the dirty laundry basket behind the scene, you know, behind you, or your dog barking. You know, practice common interview questions. You know, you're going to get asked, tell me about yourself. You know, at the end of the interview, you're going to be prompted for what questions do you have for us? You know, have insightful questions that, you know, ask something that's not very obvious on the job description. You know, whoever's interviewing you typically has other candidates and, you know, may only have a limited time. So make best use of that time you have with them. All right, Katie, think we should open it up for some of the questions that we've seen come through.
Absolutely. If I can pull them up, or Marie, if you want to help us out with the questions.
Absolutely.
So
we've got a couple questions that came through earlier as we were discussing the job descriptions. One of which was, what titles for an apprenticeship should I be targeting for cybersecurity apprenticeships?
So, and I just kind of put that in the chat. So I've seen, you know, positions within the cybersecurity space, you know, maybe a SOC analyst, an IT security, even IT audit. could be types of job titles to look at.
Great. And then we did have a couple questions asking about what companies we're partnered with. And I noticed that Lonnie made a comment in here to answer that, saying that the list is long and ever growing, but we'll look to send out an aggregate list later from our team so that we can be fair to all of them and give them all shared space. Let's see, we've answered the question about the pivot tables, and I'm just scrolling through here. There was a question about, what if you don't have a certification? I think that was pretty well answered. And then does WordPress count was another question. And I think WordPress is probably web developer space.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have that skill, you better believe it should be in, on your resume. And, another thing to note is, as technology, everything is moving very AI focused. So even recruiters, when you're applying, your resume is going into a database of sorts to where based off of the keywords that are on your resume and the keywords in the job description, it can basically kind of stack rank those matches on which resumes the system says that the recruiter should interview first. So make sure, you're really reviewing that job description. And if it's asking for intermediate to advanced Excel, make sure you have that somewhere noted on your resume, whether it's in a project or whether it's in, your skill summary. You could put Microsoft Excel, parentheses, intermediate, pivot tables, whatnot.
We don't actually have any other, it looks like we've answered the ones that were in the feed or in the chat. So if anybody has anything else, please feel free to add those in and we'll get them answered. Oh, we've got one more that just came through. What is the process getting into the apprenticeship program? Can you mention some of the most important requirements you look for in a candidate or that a candidate must have in order to get acceptance to the program?
Sure. So honestly, well, first off, where to apply. So for apprenticeship programs through ACDS, you would go to our website and our careers page, which is acds.co, I think, /careers. Thank you, Marie, Johnny on the spot. So you would officially apply there. In regards to requirements, it doesn't require a degree. It's not going to require direct work experience. Now, what Katie and I do expect to understand in an interview from you is, those projects, that you're passionate, that you're a self-learner. A key component on an apprenticeship position is that your ability to kind of quickly self-learn or learn a new technology. So we like to see those examples of, you took advantage of the kind of pre-apprentice trainings through University of Arkansas. You did an online course on Udemy. You built a web app for fun. So things like that are kind of most important to me. But Katie, do you want to kind of chime in on your thoughts?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the self-learning aspect is what is one of my number one things that I look for. Have you built a website? Have you linked your GitHub to your resume? If so, I'm going to click on it and go through and look and see what kind of projects you've contributed to. Do you have your own website? Did you link it to your resume? I'm going to click on it and look through and see some of those project examples. Now, I'm not a developer. I may not know code and all that entails, but I'm going to look through and see some of those projects and ask you about them.
Well, all right. If we don't have any more questions, I just would love to again thank everyone for your time today. It was a pleasure visiting with you. I really hope kind of what we shared add value, encourages you in your search for a career into IT. Oh, I think we have one more question. I think, Alicia, you're welcome to still send that question, and we can follow up with you directly. But again, thank you so much for your time, and you're welcome to also send any follow-up questions to us, and we'll be sending the PowerPoint slide out this afternoon with all the details.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day.
Thank you.